Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Charts and Coffee Show. Good to have you all here. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Good to see everybody. December the 14th, I got my my stock trader. You guys ever check this out? Stock Trader's Almanac. I have 2021 on order. Neat little thing to just kind of see different tendencies throughout the year. So flipping through that this morning. I usually will flip through it either on a Monday or just once a day, just to kind of see what's going on. So just out of the Stock Trader's Almanac today. Let's see. Oh, actually, I'll just read you today. So December 14, Monday before December triple witching. Again, the tendency is the S&P is up 12 of the last 19. Okay. In 2018, it was down 2.1%. So pretty interesting. And then today's quote. So then there's a quote. So Monday before December triple witching. Remember, this Friday is options expiration. The S&P has been up 12 of the last 19. That's pretty cool. And today's quote is, unless you've interpreted changes, the font is, golly, is that small? Unless you've interpreted changes before they've occurred, you'll be decimated trying to follow them. That's an interesting one to ponder. All right. So happy Monday, everybody. Great to see you all. Yeah, I just put in my pre-order for 2021. Yeah, I love what I love what Jeffrey Hirsch does with these. I've been getting them for quite a few years, and I'm a big fan of what he does with different cycles. I'm a big fan with what Howard Marks has taught with different cycles. Remember, gang, we're always dealing with cycles, and I don't just mean macroeconomic cycles like debt and business and macro cycles themselves, which look at growth, inflation, monetary policy, and money supply. I'm even talking tendencies like what we're discussing right now. The pit bull low and the action into the third Friday of the month, that's a tendency. The Santa rally, that's a tendency. I mean, what are we talking about here? The fact that the Monday before triple witching has been up the last 12 out of the 19 years. You know, one of the things I talked about last week, and we discussed it here in Charts and Coffee. Where is my coffee? All right. Today, by the way, we're doing an Ethiopian roast. I actually did a pour. I have this sieve that I got from Java Press. So you put this sieve on top of the mug, and then you pour. They recommend, what is it, 195 to 200 degree water. So yes, I'm measuring the temp of my water. Poured it in. Really good. Not bitter, nothing. And I make strong coffee, and I don't put cream or sugar in it. So you notice it when you overbrew. So, you know, these tendencies that we're talking about, gang, they apply to everything. And one of the things we talked about last week, and I wrote it down actually in the stock almanac, was that we had a couple interesting things going into the weekend. COVID vaccinations are going out. We have stimulus that we're still waiting on. Today is the big December 14 that we've been talking about, where the electoral ballots get sent off to Congress, Senate, I think. And so there's a lot, you know. By the way, Friday, what was it, 2 hours after the close, we hear that SCOTUS is not going to entertain that Texas lawsuit. This isn't politics, gang. I loathe politics, and I loathe people who mesh politics and the markets together. It's pretty much a surefire way for me to know, oh, okay, that's your excuse when you lose trading. I detest it. However, if you look at it unemotionally, you will know that if I'm still waiting on will they or won't they hear this lawsuit, that could affect the way the markets interpret what's coming next, because it adds a certain amount of uncertainty, right? What's certainty? Give us the money, stimulus. What's certainty? Give us the vaccination. That's you know, that's what I mean. It's not a matter of whether it's right or wrong or whatever. It's a matter of whether or not the market feels like, having known this, I can carry on, right? What was that? Keep calm and carry on. I guzzled the Crown this weekend. I guess it's the fourth year of the series. I just went right to the fourth. I didn't watch 1, 2, or 3, although I will, but it was really, really good. So anyway, so keep in mind that the market today is going to get to scratch off vaccination, and perhaps it will get to scratch off electoral college ballots. That would be a big deal. So then now come back to what the tendency is 12 out of the last 19 years for the market to potentially head higher. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? I hope that makes sense. Yeah, Bob, you've been using it for a long time? Absolutely. I'm a huge fan. Like I said, 2 of my favorite sources for cycles are what Jeffrey does and what Howard Marks does. So absolutely. Okay, so let's see what we've got going on to kick off the day. Interestingly enough, I don't know how many of you noticed this morning when my alarm went off at 4, which is my cat waking me up. This morning when my alarm went off at 4, he was a little early. He woke me up at 3:50 this morning. My Gmail wasn't working. I'm thinking, oh, what the heck is going on? So I don't know how many of you noticed. I have about 10 Gmail accounts, and 2 of them weren't working. I could not log into YouTube, so there were some issues. And then I actually Skyped back and forth with a buddy of mine in London. And I said, is your Gmail working? Because they're going to know before I will. They've been up for 5 hours, trading before. He said, yeah, our Gmail's down too. He sends his kids off to school and they use Gmail in the classroom, or they use different Google apps in the classroom. So yeah, they can't log in either. I'm like, okay, interesting. So it seems to be back because I was able to set up our show on YouTube and you guys are watching on YouTube. So yeah, different emails. Yep. Anyway, so I'm thinking, oh, what the heck's going on? But clearly by the time the bell rings, that's not going to be a factor. Now, let's say Google was a factor. Let's say Google being down would have affected the market. This is where understanding at a very granular level what an individual stock can do to the broader markets is very important as a futures trader. So if you think about Google, of course, we're going to think about the NASDAQ futures and the QQQ, and even less so, but still relevant, into the S&P, because the number one weighted sector in the S&P is still tech. But rather than one stock of 100, like in the NASDAQ, it's one stock of 500. So it's diluted, right? But then you think about, wait a minute, XLC, the XLC ETF. This is where Facebook and Alphabet are the top 3 weighted stocks, FB, Goog L, and Goog. So then you start to get a little bit more granular about the impact of a single stock on the broader markets because of the high concentration weighting that dominates these markets that we all trade. And if you're trading stocks, you're affected. If you're trading futures, you're affected. If you're trading ETFs, you're affected. Now, this isn't negative, by the way. I spent an entire class discussing this is fantastic for us as traders to know that a very small number of sectors and stocks will move the broader averages. And as I'm moving my hands, yes, I like to talk with my hands. There was a scene in the crowd where the person who was teaching back then, I guess it was before they got married. So this would have been when they were teaching Diana Spencer how to speak. She was doing all this stuff like I like to tend to do. And anyways, let's make this smaller so I see myself flailing about. So here's that Google. But anyway, so one of the things they did when she was learning how to talk is they took a piece of rope and they tied her arms to the side of her torso. And so she couldn't flail about while she spoke. Oh my gosh. So it was down in South Africa. It's back now. Yeah, I noticed the same thing here. Yep. We call it gargle. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I heard it was out all over the world. Yeah, grain. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, think about what one stock can do to the broader markets. All right. Speaking of broader markets, we've talked about tendencies today, right? We've talked about sort of the tendency, whether that be because of just this historical rhythm, which I love to understand these kind of cycles, but then also how the Pitbull low cycle was being affected by 3 other narratives: vaccine, stimulus, electoral college, going into this week. And one of the things that I'm looking to do is get long. I'm absolutely enthusiastic still about getting long these markets. And not because of the Santa rally alone, but because the Santa rally is occurring in an environment where we have an accommodative Fed. We're going to have Janet Yellen, head of the Treasury. And not that she's the one dictating monetary policy, but let's also remember that Janet Yellen was in charge of the most glacially paced increase in rates in the history of ever. So I foresee accommodative monetary policy. I foresee still the Fed's balance sheet continuing to increase. So you add all those tendencies, you add that monetary policy expectation, you add that those things to the fact that right now, take a look at the S&P futures. Look at this daily time frame. This is an uptrend. I'm gauging this uptrend by a number of key moving averages. NASDAQ, this one came to the party late, but it's an uptrend now too. Dow, it's an uptrend. Small cap, the Russell, it's been, I mean, if you want to look at any segment of the equities markets that's been en fuego, it's the Russell, it's small cap. My favorite days to trade the Russell and my favorite way to trade the Russell is when it's in sync with the Dow. And it has been an intraday that will apply as well. All right, so let's tackle a few questions here. How do I get that almanac that I'm interested in? Oh, yeah. So this thing, look, I don't personally, like I know Jeffrey through, interactions on Twitter, right? I don't, I'm a big fan of this. So you can go to Amazon. I recommend the printed version. I think you can get it on Kindle too, but I love a good spiral bound, So yeah, anyway, hook a little pen to it and that's it. I keep notes in it. You can grab it on Amazon. That's where I get it every year. I don't know his website, actually, but I just get it on Amazon. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have here? Facebook. Yeah, as far as Facebook goes, yeah, sure. Let's talk about Facebook. Yeah. So if I'm looking at Facebook here, we talked about earlier, this is a part of XLC. It's a part of the NASDAQ, throw in the QQQ. But if I'm talking about Facebook, gang, every time there's two things that usually send Facebook lower. Zuck steps in it. He does something epically stupid. Or Congress sets their sights on it. Look, I'm pretty sure Congress, generally speaking, doesn't know how to check their email. These people are not equipped, unless people who understand the way in which Silicon Valley works, they are not equipped to grill the likes of Mark Zuckerberg. We've seen it. It's hilarious, right? These people still think cookie is something you dip in milk. So every time they're brought on Capitol Hill, whether that be Facebook, Google, Twitter, whomever, I usually look at this as an opportunity to get long. Facebook's not going anywhere, gang. Love them or hate them, Facebook's not going anywhere. And we don't have anybody who really knows. Heck, someone's got to understand what they're doing. And then someone's got to find a way to control it. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen in the near future. So I still see most of these events as opportunities to get long Facebook. That's what the tendency has been. There's not been a single time that Facebook's run into some kind of trouble that, as far as I'm concerned, has not been an opportunity to buy. I wouldn't call this buy the dip, however, because I don't believe this is a trending market at the moment. It's choppy, it's meandering higher, but I wouldn't call it a dip. All right, question on Apple. How is Apple looking? Sure. Okay, so if I look at Apple, again, another market that is not trending, then you ask yourself, all right, we know Apple's heavily weighted within the QQQ, which is trending higher. We know that Apple's heavily weighted within the XLK, which is also trading higher. And you can't think about Apple without thinking about Microsoft in terms of the way in which they're both heavily weighted within both the NASDAQ and the XLK ETF. And here's what's interesting. This is one of the things that I teach my traders when it comes to understanding stock, sector, index. I'm going to go with the sector. I'm going to go with the sector, whether it be QQQ or XLK. Can we take a look at American Airlines? Sure. So this is a part of jets, right? This is a part of jets. So this is where, Carlo, if I want to step back and much the same way that we just did with Facebook and much the same way that we just did with Apple, the question then becomes, do you want to play the stock or do you want to play the sector? Do you want to play the boat or would you rather play the tide? And that's completely up to you. However, the thing to remember about the way in which sectors work is in terms of high weighted concentration stocks, right? So then the question becomes, well, how heavily weighted is American Airlines within? Now, these are questions you want to answer, right? How heavily weighted is American Airlines and jets? Do I really just want to bet on American Airlines, or are there other airlines that I can make bets on, right? And am I better off playing the broader sector, right? But I think absolutely these are markets heading higher, so I don't have a problem with playing jets, playing any of the airlines that are in good bullish structure. PLAN, yeah, I'd throw this one back into also very much eligible for the watch list. But this is, again, where you need to step back and ask yourself, all right, where is PLAN sitting within the context of your overall ETF, your passive investing activity, right? Where's my coffee? So here's what I would tell you. If you're looking at PLAN, and I've looked at PLAN, PAYC, PTCY, all the P's, they're hanging out in CLOU. So again, always go index sector stock. Some people just look at a stock and they look at an individual narrative, which is fine, but you always want to know where that stock is within that passive investing. And then that also, by the way, becomes a way that you brought in and build a really good watch list. Okay. All right. Stephen asked about SE. Okay. Same process. Now, I don't have any exposure in SE, unlike some of the other names where I've been in and out of. I have no exposure to SE. I like the structure very, very much. I don't believe this one is part of any kind of passive investing universe, because I'm looking at some of the most actively traded ETFs every weekend, and I don't recall this one at all. So this is going to be an outlier. This is actually a really powerful, these kinds of names are a powerful list to have, which is to say, do I have a list of names that are heavily weighted in sectors and in indices? And do I have a list of names that are not? And this would be an are not list, right? This is the kind of stock where, in simpler parlance, this would be a honey badger. Some of you that don't know the reference, unless you have a sense of humor and don't mind foul language, don't Google it. But for those of you with a sense of humor and don't mind some foul language, look up honey badger on YouTube. Honey badgers, for those of you that don't know, are these adorable little creatures that are just, they eat cobras and they pass out and they get stung by insects and eat them anyways. And they're just indestructible little tanks of a creature. They're kind of this, they kind of have like an otter look to them. Whatever they are, they're seriously well-made little animals. Anyway, so honey badgers, in the joke of the video, honey badgers don't care. They just do what they're going to do. If you can find stocks that, regardless of what the larger markets are doing, can just do what they're going to do, like SE is, how would we make that assessment more replicable? You'd find stocks that are not exposed in a significant way to the passive investing universe that are in uptrends. Voila, you've got a honey badger. Okay. And I think this would qualify as one. All right. Next up is which rooms am I in? Oh, so that last question was on SE, by the way. So thank you, Stephen. And the next question is, what rooms am I in throughout the day? And I've actually got to get on over there. Hey there, Trisha. I'm in the futures room. That's my main hangout. I'm in the options room twice a day. And I'm in my own room, which is the Sector Secrets Mastery. And I'm in that room every day, hanging out. So yeah, I'm in a lot of the rooms throughout the week over at Simpler. And for those of you that are not familiar, over at Simpler Trading, we have our Simpler Futures room, a Simpler Options room. We have a number of masteries, which are individual traders guiding that group through their style specifically. So we have something for everybody. Yeah, for sure. All right. Let me grab another question or two here. I'm just about out of time, but thank you as always I think we just, wow, you know what, gang? We might have hit a brand new attendance record. Wow, okay. Almost 400. Wow, I think that might be one of the highest we've hit. And again, thank you. I know I don't get through all the questions in this 20 minutes, but thank you for being here. And I hope these ideas help you throughout the day. And I'll see you again tomorrow at 9. All right, how do I determine the V-score date? Rapid, if you have the V-score, then you also have the notes in the setup. So the date is based on those instructions. In fact, we just rolled to the new anchor. As you mentioned, 2019, 1221. We just did that last Friday. Yeah. How much caution should we have for this week's options expiration? Esteban, I always look at options expiration as a Friday that I am absolutely fine with not trading. The real money, as far as I'm concerned, and everyone has a different opinion, but the real money for me is that pit bull low rally into Friday, not Friday itself. I want to play much like earnings, the preparation of, the anticipation of, the discounting into an event, not the event itself. So, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm going to be bullish into Friday. Whether or not I hold those positions through Friday or not, it's going to have a lot to do with what kind of unrealized profits I have and how much time I have till my options expire. But I like that as a general rule for setting up longs. And that's what I tend to want to do. That's a tendency, right? All right, let me let you all go. I will see you all tomorrow, 9 a.m. Thanks as always for making time to our charts and coffee. Golly, fantastic. All right. Take care, gang. I'll see you tomorrow.